Hi folks, Marty here, and today we're going to have a look at how to paint poppies in a loose wet into wet style painting. So it's just going to be a bit of fun, and we're just going to keep it all nice and loose and just play with paint, so to speak. I wouldn't normally sketch this all out, but just to give you an idea of what we're aiming at, I'm going to do it for your benefit. I'm going to just try and sketch out what I'm seeing in my head, but I normally wouldn't sketch this out, but today I will. So basically I'm going to do this, the small size of paper that we've been kind of working on. And then I'm going to do the main poppy. It's going to be kind of front and center here. So I'll just kind of sketch it in roughly. I'm doing it with a soft pencil so I can rub it all out again at the end. That's the kind of pattern that goes across it. That. And you've got your center bit in here. That's just the main one, just to give you an idea. And then I'm going to put one up here. It's going to be a bit of a different orientation. That's going to be your kind of where it gets dark underneath. Okay, and what I might do is just do maybe a couple of loose impressions of one down here. Kind of the underneath of the poppy. And then a few of the seed pods. Just up here. And then just give myself a bit of an idea where I want to put the stems in. Maybe one here in this area. Then we can put some bits of grass and so on in here. Okay, that'll be enough to get us started. What we want to do is we want to mix up a couple of different colours. This is going to be nice and wet into wet. So we'll mix our colours first before we start applying this to the paper. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a bit of an orangey colour, and then I'll grab one of my reds here. There's a wee bit of white gouache in that there, so we're getting that sort of like almost a pinky effect. Okay. So what we need to do now, it's all quite fast, it doesn't take long to do, hopefully. We're going to wet inside the area that I've drawn for the poppies here. And then we're going to start dropping our water in and letting it just run and do its stuff, okay? So we'll start off in this middle one here. It's a case of just finding a picture of a poppy you like the kind of the shape of. Okay, that's one done, and then drop a wee bit of water up in this top one. And don't worry if you go outside the line or whatever, you know. You can use it to your advantage and help to keep the whole thing nice and loose looking. Okay, just add a wee bit here and there. Maybe just give it a wee spray here and there just as well, for good measure. Here we go. Straight into our yellows, our orangey colour, and then I'll just drop that in like that. And then drop a bit around here. go ahead and do this top one while you're at it. So just a wee touch. Okay. So now we're into our reds here. Don't worry if it looks less than perfect. It's all part of the whole. Just keep it rough, nice dried brushwork, and a couple of sweeps here and there, just so as you don't get too rigid with the thing. Okay, I'm just going to let that kind of run and bleed, and then I'll just jump up this top one here. And one down the bottom. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our dark. I like to leave one of my wells with some dirty paint left over from previous sessions, because that'll give you a nice neutral greys, which can be hard enough to make up, and you don't want to be wasting your paint. So if you have something you've been using kind of previously, it kind of does the job. Just trying to get it dark enough, that's the thing though. I'm using a neutral tint here and a wee bit of alizarin crimson. One nice dark colour for this here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this here, just right in the middle, like that. Because it's still damp, it'll just bleed out nicely, and it'll just look like the centre of the poppy. Just let it spread and do its stuff, like that. And then this one, this is the underside of the poppy, which kind of tends to be a wee bit darker. Again, I will let that spread and blend and do its stuff. And then this one down here. So, a bit of yellow, bit of blue. This is the pod. Okay, I'm going to put a wee bit of darker stuff in here, and then we'll use that for a wee bit of the undershadow. Sometimes you put stuff on, it just gets a wee bit too blobby. Just get an old tissue and just dump it out there. Yeah. And then then we'll go into your greens. And I might just a couple of wee marks here and there, just to okay. So when that dries out, it should be a bit less messy. At this stage, what we're just going to do is just go in with some more red and just a few touch-ups here and there. Okay, and I want to kind of do a wee bit of dry brush work here. So at this stage, what I want to do is I want to go back into our black work, the dark kind of work here. I'm going to put a wee drop of, I lost something there. Okay, so we're going to go into the middle of that. At this stage, we're just going to do a wee bit of white work. Now you can do this with a pen if you like. a wee bit of gouache just to add a wee bit of definition to those petals there. What I might do is just go into my greens again here. Just maybe try and add a wee bit of shadow. In fact, what I'll do is I'll grab some of that purpley looking colour and that'll look a bit like shadow. Soft, sweet bit dark. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Don't wanna overdo this. I wanna just keep it nice and loose. So I'm just gonna dry it off completely. And what I'll do is I'll put the old signature on here. And we'll just take the tape off. And there you have it. There's a nice wee rough painterly sketch of some poppies, wild poppies there. Have a go at that. Try a few different ways of doing that. A few different orientations of that poppy there. Just to see what you can come up with. Just don't overdo it in terms of being too tight with the thing. Keep it all nice and loose. And throw water at it, and you'll be surprised what you can come up with. So have a wee go at that, folks, and till I see you next week. Just keep on painting and keep practicing away at that. I'll see you soon.